joining us tonight to analyse this landmark agreement and Egypt's pivotal role in shaping it are Ahmed Khattab, a political researcher and instructor of international relations at Georgetown University, and Dr. Ihsan Al-Khatib, an associate professor of political science at Murray State University and an expert on Arab-American affairs. Thank you both for joining me. Firstly, let's start off with you, Mr. Ahmed. Let's start off by asking about the symbolism of this moment. A ceasefire signed in Sharm el-Sheikh, the same Egyptian city that hosted decades of peace diplomacy. How significant is today's breakthrough that was achieved once again under Cairo's leadership, given, of course, the high praises that we got, including today from Steve Witkoff, saying that this would not have happened without the Egyptian leadership?
Hello, and thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to join. I'm going to restate the obvious, I believe. So, Egypt was and continues to be central to this Palestinian cause. Egypt's mediatory efforts from the start have been important. At this specific moment, I think they create expectations and they somehow create opportunities as well for Egyptian diplomacy, for Egyptian leadership, not only for the agreement to hold, but also for the parties involved to follow through with their commitments, follow through with their promises, and as well see Egypt playing a pivotal role in Gaza's reconstruction in the months and perhaps years ahead.
Okay, Dr. Ihsan, if we can get your opinion as well. Now, as we watch the Palestinians, Khan Younis and Rafah celebrate in the streets, what does this moment truly represent for the people of Gaza after years of this unimaginable loss? Do you think this is something important for them, and do you think that their hopes will grow given the positive outcome so far?
Yes, definitely. It was a life or death situation for them. Starvation, killing, demolition was the policy of Israel from the beginning. That's what they wanted. And the people have endured all that for 2 years. That is extremely, extremely difficult. It's a genocide. When you have experts calling it a genocide, it is a genocide. And we see the suffering, and we've seen the calculated starvation. That was the policy of Israel. Now that the killing, the bombing is going to stop, hopefully permanently, and there'll be a path to permanent peace and to settlement of this conflict that doesn't just make this a break and then in a few years the parties go back to fighting. There is optimism. Trump is making promises, and there is hope that there'll be real change.
Okay, Mr. Ahmed, now President Trump called it a great day for the Arab and Muslim world. And in fact, he even mentioned, for the first time acknowledged, the absolute devastation and destruction that has happened in Gaza with the death toll and so forth. But do you believe that this powerful message that was sent out about the success and so forth is related to the Egyptian mediation? And how was Egypt able or successful in, showing this point of view and bringing about an end to, or possible end to, what's happening in Gaza?
Yes, so I as I had hinted earlier, I think Egypt has been and continues to be both central and crucial in the Arab-Israeli conflict more broadly, and in the Palestinian cause more specifically. I think the different parties, and specifically Egypt, is quite aware of the damage that this war has caused, the devastation of the humanitarian toll, but also the broader negative effects on the region, including on Egypt itself. And I think there will be efforts in the coming period to alleviate this situation and work with different parties, different states, both regionally and internationally, in order for the reconstruction efforts to happen in a steady and smooth manner, and also for the region to begin to recover from the negative effects of this war.
Well, if I could just follow up there, sir. I mean, as you just mentioned there, that there are other international partners as well, that they're going to be part of the reconstruction plan. Do you think that Egypt, along with other partners, were able to convey the point of view of the Palestinians to the Western world? They've managed to For instance, the Palestinian state has been recognized. Now we're seeing a turnaround when it comes to Trump. Do you think that this is something that was achieved through diplomacy as well? Or was it because of the images
Yes,
that people have
certainly.
seen? Yes.
I think it's really both. I mean, once you've mentioned images, they definitely had an effect on just people generally, right? They had this emotional effect. They charged people. We've seen really a global outrage on a popular level to sort of the catastrophe that the Palestinians in Gaza had to go through in those last 2 years. But it's important that you mentioned diplomacy because it appears that Egypt here has successfully, and along with the mediators, has successfully been able to capitalize on the momentum that Trump's initial proposal and announcement had created, right? And in many ways, this has allowed for the negotiations to continue, has prevented sort of Israeli stalling, and has allowed some significant concrete progress when it comes to the signing, when it comes to clear steps that are going to be taken in the coming hours and the coming days in order to begin to see this initially a proposal, hopefully now a deal and a plan and an agreement to come to fruition.
Okay, Dr. Hassan, now earlier this year you wrote on your Facebook page, quote, "There stands Egypt like a stone wall." Now tonight, with the ceasefire born in Sharm el-Sheikh, does this feel like the moment that the statement truly comes to life? And also, what does Egypt's steadfastness mean for the Arab world today, given this outcome?
Egypt will say, "I told you so," from the beginning. You know, there's always a question in international relations: are countries rational actors? Are individuals rational actors? But sometimes people don't act rationally. Sometimes countries don't act rationally. The Egyptians, from the beginning, they had a rational approach to the problem. The Israelis are not going to be able to evict 2 million Palestinians. Whatever they do, it's not going to solve the problem. The Egyptians advised the U.S. that this thing is not going to be contained to Gaza. The Americans thought, okay, their foreign policy, they're visiting the region, Blinken visiting the region all the time. They will be able to contain the conflict to Gaza. The Egyptians said, you can't. This will spread. And it did spread, actually. It did. At the very end, the Israelis ended up bombing Qatar and making Trump very angry. And then embarrassing Trump by implying that he knew and he was okay with it, which is not true, actually. But the Israelis gave that impression. So the Egyptians were right from the beginning. And the Egyptians said, nothing that the Israelis will do will change our policy. We are not okay with evicting Palestinians from Gaza. This is the red line. Nothing is going to change it. We say that the solution is the hostage is released, you reach a permanent ceasefire, and you let the aid enter. Let's talk about permanent settlement. But the Israelis didn't listen, and the Americans knew that the Egyptians are right, but the Americans went with politics, domestic politics. But Egypt, as I wrote, I mean, it's like a wall. They said, no, we're not going to change our stance. This is not a tactical move. This is not expediency, political expediency. This is principled position, consistent with international law and consistent with morality. And we're not going to change for the convenience of the U.S. and for the convenience of the Israelis. And even though the U.S. offered billions of dollars, Egypt said this is not negotiable.
Yes. Sir, I mean, if I can just follow up there, it also went further, not just the fact that Egypt stood firm towards this displacement issue, but if you could also give us your opinion when it comes to, you know, the diplomatic moves that Egypt, along with other partners, have done to, I guess, reach this point in time here where we've seen a number of countries recognize the state of Palestine and now a permanent ceasefire happening as well in Gaza.
You know, there is an American saying that the U.S. ends up doing the right thing after doing everything else first. And this is what happened here with Gaza. I mean, they knew, the Americans knew the right thing is that to put an end to this. You can't just let the Israelis go and commit a genocide. And the U.S. knew that Israel is going to commit a genocide. And begging Israel is not going to stop it. Biden begged them. But I think that the Arab reaction was the only possible reaction, which is to fight a diplomatic fight, and the Saudis with the French led the initiative to have a number of countries recognize Palestine, because the interest of the Arabs is to put an end to this and not have one set of violence act, one round of violence after another. The Egyptian diplomacy was, we have to end this. The goal of Egyptian diplomacy from day one with the Qataris and other Arab countries is that this has to end. We have to have a ceasefire. We should be working for a permanent ceasefire. And the problem was Netanyahu didn't want a permanent ceasefire. That's why it didn't happen. Not because Hamas was hardline, inflexible. They were very, very flexible, actually, very pragmatic. But Netanyahu did not want a permanent ceasefire due to personal reasons, political reasons, and the Americans were not pressuring him. We're trying to persuade him, we're begging him, we're moral pressure, but not real pressure. And I think now the difference is that there is real pressure from Trump, apparently. Now let's see if that remains, because stage one is easy for Netanyahu. It's what comes after it that's going to be harder, yes.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Ahmed, if we can get your opinion here as well. Now, I asked Dr. Hassan about the idea of Egypt standing firm against the idea of forcibly displacing Palestinians. Egypt has rejected such plans, both for political reasons and moral reasons as well. How central was this firm stance to Egypt's credibility and ability as well to lead the negotiations to a successful phase one, at least? I'm assuming that both sides see Egypt as a credible and dependable partner.
Yes, it was definitely a boost to Egypt's credibility, not only in its mediatory efforts, but also in the region. Right. And I think what's also important to mention here is how perhaps Egypt's firm stance against the forced displacement of Palestinians from Gaza was really a reality check to the to US foreign policy, to the Israeli government, and specifically Netanyahu as well. And I think this is all going to be important when, as Dr. Al-Khatib had mentioned, we come to move on from phase one or step one to future steps, which are going to definitely be more difficult for Netanyahu to get the agreement of his cabinet, his security cabinet in specific, on and to implement on the ground. There might be more political resistance within Israel on that.
Okay, my final question here goes to the both of you. We're going to start off with Dr. Hassan, but if you could do this briefly, both of you, if you give us the answer. Now, what does this ceasefire actually mean for the future of the region? Could it signal some sort of turning point on how the Arab world reclaims diplomatic agency, as well as reshaping a path towards peace?
I think it's an important step one, and it's a step in the right direction, and you can build on it. It's an important step that you can build on, and you have to sustain the momentum. I think it's a genius move by President Sisi to say to Trump, come to the region, visit us. And Trump is eager to do that because he wants that picture with the hostages released from Gaza. He wants that picture with them because he promised to get it done, and he finally got it done. I think that the fact that he's going to be visiting Egypt, and there's going to be this moral responsibility for Trump. He came to the region, he put his name, he came physically, he basically put his stamp of approval on this plan, he made his promises. I think it's going to be much harder for the Americans to try to weasel out of this commitment. They have to sustain the momentum, and the US has to continue to live up to its promises, because it's going to be massively embarrassing for Trump to have to be weak-kneed in the future and refuse to keep pushing Netanyahu to continue on that path.
Okay, Mr. Ahmed, what about you? Could you give us your thoughts?
Yes, so I think the pressure now, or the expectations and hopes, are really on Egypt and the mediators to really move this from being simply a ceasefire or sort of a very basic agreement to a cessation of hostilities towards a more comprehensive peace agreement. Right. And of course, this is not going to be easy. What's interesting here is that all these developments, which have been very quick and very rapid in the past weeks and months, are really revealing sort of the beginnings of a change in the American outlook, right? The beginnings of perhaps a switch from a very firm American stance towards supporting Israel, supporting Israeli decisions, to being a bit more open about the different options that could come forward. And I think the Palestinian reconciliation efforts, which are expected to also perhaps happen in Egypt in the weeks, are a step in the right direction for that purpose. But overall, I think it's important that this moves from simply being a ceasefire to a much bigger comprehensive agreement.
Okay, thank you both. That was Mr. Ahmed Khattab and Dr. Ihsan Al-Khatib for your insights and your perspectives, and thank you both for joining me in this historic moment, one that reminds us that when Egypt stands firm, peace finds its way back to the region. Tonight, peace has a name, and that name is Egypt. From the halls of Sharm el-Sheikh to the streets of Gaza, diplomacy has spoken louder than war. For Palestine, this ceasefire means more than calm. It means recognition, survival, and a chance to rebuild life from the ruins. Egypt's leadership has once again proven that stability in the Middle East passes through Cairo, through dialogue, persistence, and unwavering commitment to justice. History will remember this day as more than an agreement. It will remember it as a day of hope returned to Gaza. Good night, and may this peace finally endure.